Hello everyone, welcome to Sriram's IAS. Myself Shiva Shankari. So happy to join with you for the second rapid revision series. Before getting into our class, I like to introduce that Sriram's is offering you an offer. By using the code Sriram's, you can just get flat 20% off on Unacademy platform. As now at your doorstep through Unacademy. And see, actually this is the marathon session which is planned by Sriram for your own benefit. Those going to appear for this year exams, this will benefit you a lot. And already one session has been completed, and this is our second session where we will be dealing with the MCQs, most important MCQs which may asked in the coming exam 2023. So that way we have predicted that and you have made this course. And not only that, you can also see this. This is a marathon session for current affairs, and there also the expert faculties will be handling that, and CSET marathon classes. So you can benefit through all these classes. Keep watching. And okay, now we will come to our class. Environment. In the last session, we were just discussing about the basic concepts of environment, what is meant by environment, as well as the interactions of organisms or interactions of organisms inside the environment through various forms of food chains, pyramids, nutrient cyclings, as well as the interaction types. Okay, and apart from that, we also saw the successions in ecological successions and the adaptation mechanism. So this how we have seen enough things related to ecosystem. So one thing which is left over is ecosystem classification. So like what are the ways ecosystems can be classified? What are the types of ecosystems? This only we are going to see in today's session. See this. First, we will begin with the terrestrial ecosystems. Under terrestrial, what are the ecosystems we have? And aquatic. Aquatic means all the fresh water, the brackish, the salt water, all will be included in the aquatic ecosystem. So first we'll go to the terrestrial classification. Okay, and in the terrestrial classification, first we'll begin with forest, right? So forest is a very important terrestrial ecosystem. So we'll begin with forest. As you can see, what are those called as forests? First, we have to know that all those areas which are more than 1 hectare area is called as a forest. So that it doesn't matter who owns the land. That is why we have mentioned here itself, that is irrespective of the ownership. So there are two components which you have to, or two factors which you have to keep in mind how the forest is defined. One, it is more than 1 hectare area. So when you are trying to study, you have to make a short notes like this. Then 1 hectare, and the canopy density should be of more than, canopy density is something you can see here, the tree. When more trees are there, that is called as canopy, the layer of trees. Canopy density should be greater than 10%. Okay, more than 10%, then only we consider that as a forest. And the ownership, irrespective of the ownership, like land use and legal status, okay, all this, what usage it is there, and the legal status of that, either it is a private forest, either it is a forest, okay, this way, a reserve forest, this way the forest is different. And now we'll get into the types of forest. Okay, so when we are studying about forest, we should know types of, because when questions are focused, they are taking it from the types of forest. Especially there are 15 types of forest, especially 4 types are important and 3 are very very important. So that only we will be seeing in our rapid revision classes. As you can see, the first is tropical rainforest. Okay, this is otherwise called as evergreen forest. Okay, so the tropical rainforest is called evergreen forest also. See, these are some of the components of tropical rainforest. Characters. So when you are studying about a forest, you should learn about the characters of the forest. As you can see, Where are these forests found? That is the first point. When you see the old UPSC question paper, you will find details like this. The location of the forest is very important. Like where and all you can see this evergreen forest or the tropical forest. This is otherwise also called as tropical forest. This is otherwise called as tropical rainforest. So this is found in along Andaman and Nicobar and the Western Ghats. In Western Ghats, the western slopes will consist of this forest. Eastern slopes, it's not rain fed. There is no complete rain throughout the year. So you can see this is found in the western slopes of Western Ghats, hills of northeastern region. Okay, so there we can find the tropical rainforest. And then the characters. What are the characters of these forests? First, come to the climate. It is always warm and wet throughout the year. And the rainfall, if you take, it will be more than 200 centimeters. The annual average rainfall will be more than 200 centimeter. Same way, the annual mean temperature would be greater than 20 degrees Celsius. So it is always hot, warm, wet. Okay. So humidity is very high. That's why they are called as tropical rainforest. They are located along the tropical zones of our world. And other characters of this forest, if you see, they have multi-layer structure. Okay, the tiered pattern. You can see this. That's why I have made a figure for you to understand. So this is the description of this forest. Tiered pattern you will be seeing. The trees will be much higher. Then comes the shorter trees and then shrubs you will find. The undergrowth. This is called as undergrowth. If you can see this undergrowth, no, it is present, but it is not present in an enormous level in the tropical forest. What is the reason? The reason is because the sunlight will not reach the floor. So, because the canopy is very dense, so the sunlight will reach. And this is the reason that the undergrowth is very less. And also you can see that the decomposers are very rich in this soil. The reason is that the forest is very dense, so lot of leaves after it has fallen, it has to be decomposed by the decomposers. So that's why the decomposers are present. I have given simply the example like mushrooms, earthworms and all. A lot of decomposers will be there. Snail is also a decomposer, like this you'll be finding. And mostly if you see that the epiphytes are abundance here in this forest. What type of epiphytes? Lianas and epiphytes, both. Not only epiphytes, lianas and epiphytes. So what type of epiphytes you can find? That like mosses, ferns, lichens, all these will be present in the this types of forest. See, this is the epiphyte. Epiphyte means already we have discussed, it will be living over the other trees. Since I already told these two are connected, the sunlight will not reach the forest floor. Since the sunlight does not reaches the forest floor, the small plants will be perched over the trees. Okay, and also you can see that they will be found over the trees only for the presence of sunlight. They will be there. And lianas are again the other tree. It's like a creeper only. They cannot stand straight. So what they will do, with the help of the support of other trees, they will climb. They will reach the surface and for the sunlight again. Okay, so that's why these are abundance in the tropical forest, but undergrowth is less. Now we'll move next one because we have discussed, taken a lot of time for this. The tropical moist deciduous, tropical rainforest, that is evergreen forest we have done. The second type, which is important, is tropical moist deciduous. So, character of tropical moist deciduous, as you can see, these types of forest, these are like also like the evergreen forest only, like the evergreen forest. Okay, you have to keep this in mind. They are also moist in character. So, if there is a evergreen forest, the next, after that, you will find a moist deciduous forest, location of moist deciduous forest. And these forests are found throughout India. Okay, everywhere you can find these forests. Especially you take the eastern region, the northeastern region, then the eastern slopes of the Western Ghat. We already told the western slopes will always have the rainforest. Okay, but the western slopes will have these types of moist deciduous forest, and also Andaman and Nicobar. Andaman and Nicobar also has the evergreen forest, and it also has a moist deciduous forest, except only you have to know. So it is present throughout, but except in the western and the northwestern region, you will not find these forests. Okay. So then what is the character of this forest? As you can see in the evergreen forest, I already told the canopy is very dense. There is layered structure. and the trees are always, if even though they shed the leaves, one or two trees will shed the leaves, but most of the trees will remain green. But in this case, in the moist deciduous forest, when the climate is very dry, when there is no rainfall, in that kind of situation, trees will try to shed their leaves. Okay, so most of the trees barren, and that is how this is the unique feature of the deciduous forest, not the evergreen forest. Okay, either it can be a moist deciduous or either it can be a dry deciduous. Now, the rainfall pattern, how it would be there? The tropical rainforest would be always more than 200 centimeter rainfall, but here it is around 100 to 200 centimeter. You will find in the moist deciduous forest, and the temperature also, as you can see, temperatures also, it will be moderate, not very hot like the tropical rainforest. And many we have discussed, and the dominant species of the forest is teak only. Teak is predominant in this forest. So then we'll go to the next type of forest. It is called as dry deciduous forest. We have seen evergreen forest, moist deciduous, and dry deciduous. So where you can find these types of forest, largest areas in India is occupied by this forest only. They have already asked this statement as such in the UPSC exam. So when you are studying about the forest, you have to be careful with statements related to that forest, including the character of the forest. Okay, even the peninsular part, we have seen that mostly the tropical rainforest and tropical moist deciduous, except in the Western Ghats, they are not present anywhere in the southern side, in the peninsular region. And you'll finding in the northeastern hills as well as the northeastern hills and the island countries. Okay, in these you'll be finding that the evergreen forest especially, and the moist deciduous you'll be finding throughout the country, especially they are not found in the western parts. But take dry deciduous forest. These are the forests which are present in the larger area in India. So the majority of the areas are covered by this forest only. The annual rainfall for that is around 100 to 200 centimeter. For this the dry deciduous, it is around 70 to 100 centimeter only. So it is much drier comparative to the moist deciduous forest. So mainly these are found in the peninsular region, because I already discussed with you that peninsular region rain fed. So it's not consisting of a lot of perennial rivers. So mainly the rivers are also rain fed. So here you can see in the peninsular region, these types of forest will be present, and also including the plains of UP and Bihar, you will find these types of dry deciduous forest. Okay, so these here also teak is a dominant species, and we know already deciduous itself, teak is the dominant species of deciduous forest. Here also teak you will be finding, and one unique feature of this forest, it looks like more or less like a grassland only. As you can hear here itself, you can see that then and there you'll be finding a tree, then you will be finding small perennial grasses which will be there. So this we call as parkland landscape. Here is the dimension. As you can see this, the parkland landscape is nothing but where there are abundant grasses, and in between you will be finding trees then and there. Okay, so this is the character of dry deciduous forest. And then next forest, even though there are lot types of forest, including mangrove forest is there. Mangrove forest is called as tidal forest. We are having a separate section for mangroves, so we need not see here. But there is something called as alpine and subalpine forest, which will be present in the higher ranges of Himalayas. Starting above 3000 meter, you'll be finding these types of forest. Okay, alpine and subalpine. And here you'll be finding coniferous trees, and these coniferous trees are also again like evergreen only, because they will not shed their leaves, and you can see the needle shaped leaves also. So here the taiga forest is another important forest. Apart from the three forests, I told you four forests we'll be seeing today. One is the boreal forest. This is other called as snow forest. So snow forest, generally from the name itself, you can understand they are present in the higher ranges of Himalayas. So why this taigas? Why them as taigas? Because this forest is a thick forest again, like how an evergreen forest is. These forests are also very thick forest, but they are very cold. Okay, they are located in the subarctic region. You will be finding these types of forest, and the coniferous trees will be present here, such as you take the pine, fir, spruce, these types of trees you'll be finding in the forest. And one unique feature of this forest is the soil is permafrost, that's completely frozen, not like alpine and subalpine forest. In alpine forest also for few months the soil frozen, otherwise like it is exposed to sunlight. But here the soil is completely frozen. So these types of forest you can see only in the Arctic regions, no subarctic regions you'll find. And the why the permafrost is a problem here, because when a soil is frozen, it will have few nutrients only, because plants grow. If plants grown only, there will be decomposer to decompose the dead plants, and then the nutrient will be recycled. But here there is no plant growth, so stars are also absent. Only you can find mosses, lichens, mushrooms. These are the small undergrowths you'll be finding in this forest, because we all know that fungi can survive any. Same way mosses and lichens. So you'll be finding them in the forest floor, but otherwise there are shrubs present, and hence there is less nutrients. Okay, so since it is frozen complete, and you can see that I already told this found in the higher latitudes, especially 50 to 50 degree to 70 degree latitude you can find. That is only subarctic region. And higher, we have North Pole, South Pole, and the Himalayas is the third pole. So we all know Himalayas also will have these types of forest. And the higher altitudes of the Himalayas, you can find them. Okay, these are forest is existing, right? And the next thing is that these are types of forests. So we have to know what are the benefits of forest before going into conservation measures related to forest. Because we are taking a ecosystem, we will be discussing entirely about that ecosystem. Whatever is required will be discussed. Here types is required, so we have the types. Now we are going to the benefit of the forest ecosystem. So what are the benefits of forest ecosystem? We call forest as green lungs of earth. Why we are calling it as green lungs of earth? Because forests are releasing out enormous amount of oxygen by purifying the air. Again, atmosphere is full of pollutions. By purifying the air, it is also trapping the particulate matters, all those necessary pollutants which are present in the atmosphere is trapped by the forest. Also, it is a storehouse of water reservoirs, we can say. Another important source, water reservoirs. Nowadays we are talking about another kind of forest called as cloud forest. So that will be in the last section of discussion of forest. We'll be seeing that. And even the forest will maintain the soil moisture. Soil moisture is retained in forest, and it will also stabilize the soil erosion. It will stabilize the soil. It will also reduce soil erosion. Okay, and it will also reduce soil degradation. When a land is open, the soil will completely degrade. That is, the fertility of the soil will be gone. The main reason I already told you. What is the case with the taiga forest? Taiga forest is permafrost. There you cannot find any shrubs or any trees growing. What will be the problem? So there will be no decomposers to decompose them. So that is a problem you will be facing. But in this case, again you can see that forest is trying to bring the stability. Okay, then the important function of this forest, you can see that it acts as carbon sink. Okay, carbon sink, that's why we have mentioned this point as sequestering carbon dioxide. So carbon sink, that's why we are trying to say that we have to increase the forest cover so that more carbon can be trapped and stored. So this way forest acts as a natural carbon sink. And apart from that, it provides a lot of economic benefits to people. So it provides livelihood of many people, for the forest dwellers, for the scheduled tribes. Even we are relying on the forest for our resources. Even for the main resource, that is air, the purified air, we are relying on the forest only. So it is giving a lot of benefits to the people that we call as ecosystem services offered by the forest. Okay, and the next thing, now we'll go into the conservation measures. So I have started with forest, defining the forest. I told you that the forest has to be more than 1 hectare area, and the canopy density should be more than percent. Then only we consider that forest, and irrespective of the ownership of the land, and the land we don't care about it, so we call that as a forest. It can be orchards. Orchards, group of plantation, a tree plantation, we call that as orchard. It can be a bunch of bamboos present in that area. So this way we have told forest be of any type. And in that I told in India itself 13 types of forest. But in that 4 forest is very important. 4 types are very important. From that only frequently questions are coming in your UPSC exams. So for that, whatever is necessary, I have already given. So in short form, you would have you can also take a snapshot and then you can see that and study for shortcuts. Then we'll go to the next important section, that is the conservation activity related to forest. In that, first we'll begin with the Forest Act 1927. So what this act, why this act was brought? This act was mainly brought to protect the forest, first to protect the forest, but along that to strengthen the laws which are already existing in our country related to forest conservation, and also to increase the productivity of forest. So there are three purposes for bringing this act, not only for conserving the forest. So UPSC, whenever they are targeting a act, they will take questions from the objectives or aims or any important sections which is existing in the act, very important section. From that only questions will come. So for this, mainly they will be focusing the objective. You can see objective is to conserve the forest. Along with that, to strengthen the laws already existing for the forest in the forest ecosystem, and then to increase the productivity of forest. Okay, then you come to the important section. I told you, no, the questions will be from inside. In this case, this forest is this act is the one first time which classified forest into three kinds. One is reserve forest, second is village forest, and another is protected forest. Okay, so first we'll go with the reserve forest. What is called reserve forest? In short form, I have given here. You can see this. See, the reserve forests are nothing but those forests which, from the name you can understand, which is reserved in character. That means somebody has reserved. What is reservation means? You are reserving something, no? Reserving a seat. Same way, your government has reserved that forest. It belongs to them. The proprietorship belongs to the government. The government will make rules, regulations related to the management of the forest. Okay, so because the government is owner of this forest, and the local people cannot casually enter and use the forest they wish. Without the permission of the government, they cannot enter this forest. So these are called as reserved forest. Then the second kind of forest I told you is village forest. So see, these are some of the activities which are also prohibited inside this forest. I already told you cannot casually enter and go without the permission, seeking the permission of government, because government is the owner of the land. So these are some of the activities which is prohibited inside the reserve forest also. Like you cannot simply go set fire, then you will be arrested for that. So you go set fire, you cannot clear the forest, and you can do cultivation, or you cannot simply trespass inside the forest without taking permission, or you cannot bring your cattle for grazing inside the forest, or you cannot go and mine, quarrying stones, limestone charcoals. This way you cannot something and come out. You cannot simply break a twig from a branch. You take a branch from a tree and then drag it out. Okay, so you cannot do anything. You cannot cut a tree, you cannot drag a piece of tree outside. Okay, so this way even hunting, shooting, fishing, poaching, anything is not allowed inside this forest. Even you can see that the elephant preservation act, as it will be in certain places, they will this act is applicable. Elephants preservation act is applicable. Even it is not applicable inside that reserve forest, you cannot kill the elephant, because it is also prohibited under this Indian Forest Act 1920. So apart from Elephant Preservation Act 1879, the Indian Forest Act 1927 also safeguarding the elephants. You have to keep this in mind. So then come to the second kind of forest. It is a village. So what it is, this now previously in the reserve forest, the government had the ownership of the forest. Now here in the village forest, what the state government can do, the state government can assign any village to any village community. The rights of the government, previously government held the right. Now the rights of government will be assigned to any village community. It is transferred, it is assigned to any village community. So anytime they can take it back. Okay, for the usage of the village community, they will assign the land rights to the village community, so that the village can use that forest. Okay, so that now this forest are called as village forest or grazing village reserves. Okay, we call this as that, or village grazing reserve, VGF, anything, VGR. So here the village community will use that land for their own usage. Okay, so then comes the last kind of forest. See, village grazing reserve. It's called VGR. Its name, it will be allotted or assigned to the village community for their own usage. So the last one, protected forest. So what is meant by protected forest? The land which is other than the reserved forest. Okay, a resort forest is under the ownership of the government, and the village forest, village community can use the forest for and here still in the village forest also the rules regulations for maintaining the forest will be formulated by the government only, not the village community. They can just use the forest. The protected forest is something that the land which is not under the resort forest, over which the government has a right, has the proprietary rights. We call that as protected forest. Okay. So here the entire rights is with the state government only. Again, the state government will form the rules, regulations regarding this of the usage of the forest. Okay. Then these are some points, extra points related to the protected forest. Even inside the protected forest, because the forest itself belongs to the government only, here the government has every right to reserve a tree also in the protected forest, because that tree can bring revenues to the state. So they can reserve that particular tree also. Even single tree can be reserved inside a protected forest. In this way, that protected forest is also managed by the government. Apart from this, there are also something which are described inside that Indian Forest Act. That is something related to the private forest. Okay, the private forest belongs to the private people. We already told, no, government forest is also there, private forest is also there. A lot of people are owning private forest, including the forest man of India, Jadava Payeng. Now, what happens? This forest can be declared by the government in certain exceptional cases, that the clearing of the forest is required in order to preserve public health and public wellness. Then the state government will pass an order for clearing of the land under such forest. Okay, even though that forest does not belong to the government, they can pass an order for clearing that area, clearing that area which is inside the private forest for the human beings wellness or human beings health issues. Okay, so now what happened in 2017, government silently made an amendment. Okay, and that also was by UPSC, so we need not focus much, even though if they are asking us a single statement when they are trying to ask about question from this particular part, you have to know that. So that's why I have given here. In 2017, the definition of trees, you take the trees included previously, in the previous act, trees means it included bamboos, it included brushwoods, canes, palms, stumps, everything is included in that. But now the 2017 brought amendment, slight amendment, modification, the definition of tree, and removed bamboos from the tree. So previously what happened, even though you're not cut bamboo from the forest area, but you're cutting bamboo from any area in your own orchard, and then you are moving from state to another, you have to take interstate permit. But now, after this modification, you can move the bamboo from one state to another without taking permit, but not the bamboo from the forest area. Okay, so keep this in. This is the amendment which was brought. Huh? So then you can see these are the points which we have given here. Again, the Forest Conservation Act 1980, we are not going to discuss about that, but we are going to discuss about the Forest Conservation Rules 2022. The Forest Conservation Act 1980 was brought in order to check the deforestation issue. Mainly for that only. You should not think for conserving the forest. In the negative sense they have brought it, that is to check the deforestation. Okay, so now you can see this, the forest conservation rules which was recently brought in 2022. According to the rule which was under the Forest Conservation Act only, they brought these rules. The rules said that there will be now 3 committees which has to be set up at the state level: the advisory committee, a screening committee, and even at the regional level you will have a empowered committee has to be constituted. For what purpose we are going to constitute this? For monitoring purpose only, because deforestation is taking place. No, even the famous movie Pushpa, Anna. So these are what is the main issue? Deforestation. There are also endangered tree, cutting down of endangered tree. So they said that we are going to form these types of committees. Again, integrated regional office has to be set up to examine all linear projects you are bringing, hydroelectric projects, which has to be taken inside the forest area. Again, so clearing up projects. Forest clearance certificate is also required. Environment clearance certification also is required for those kind of projects. So for that, they are going to set up integrated regional office, and now they are going to fix time for reviewing the project quickly. Okay, mining project, they have split it into 2: mining, non-mining projects. Mining project will take much time. comparatively than the non-mining project. It will take a lot of time. If the non-mining project is given 100 days, it will be given 150 days for clearance. Okay, this way they are going to fix time for reviewing the project. Then see, the states are going to this way the statement has come in the conservation rules. They gave the statement like this: states are going to be the responsible for settling the forest rights of forest dwellers under the State Act. Yes, even now they are doing it. Even now they are one who are doing it. Only Gram Sabha, this may be a focus area when UPSC is setting a question. Gram Sabha is not settling the forest right. Gram Sabha is initiating the forest rights to be settled by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Who is doing that? Ministry of Tribal Affairs is doing that from the central government. So state is responsible. State means here they are not mentioning about the state government. The government is responsible for settling the Forest Rights Act of the forest. So far they only doing it. Now also they are only going to do it. But that one additional statement was there. What is the statement? They will also allow diversion, assignment of lease, or de-reservation of the forest land will happen. Okay, so this all will be allowed. Additionally, this statement was inserted inside. Then see this. Apart from that, this is a last statement which was in the rules. The compensatory afforestation will now be allowed in other states. It is not only here in the CAMPA Act itself. In 2019 itself, they made this modification. Now again, they are reaffirming it. They are saying that if a state is having more than 3/4 of its area, which is consisting of forest, which is occupied with forest, then if the forest is cut down in that state, we need not take afforestation in that state only. We can go to some other state where there is less than 20% of the area occupied by forest. You can do afforestation there. Okay, so this way they already have given there itself. Again, in this forest conservation rules, they are reaffirming it. Okay, so now we'll move to the next session, that is the Forest Rights Act. So we all know about this act. This act is very important act. Often questions would be focused from this act. As you know, this act was mainly brought to recognize the rights of the forest dwellers, including the tribal communities and the other traditional forest dwellers for the forest resources. So this act was the first to recognize the relationship between, not only animal will be in symbiotic relationship. Man and forest can also be in symbiotic relationship. They can live in symbiosis. Even you would have seen the silent whispers and how these people are in symbiotic relationship living in that area where the animals are living, coexistence. So what happens? The ministry the tribal affairs was responsible for settling rights, especially the community forest rights and the individual rights. Both kind of rights will be settled by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs only. So as you can see, the individual rights, what and all called as individual rights? Self-cultivation. You are just going to cultivate on your own and you are living in that area. Right of self-cultivation and habitation is called as individual rights. Community rights means community will use that land, especially like grazing, fishing, access to the water bodies. Okay, even traditional method of cultivations. The group, all the people will join together, do some customary rights. Okay, like this it goes on. So this way they are going to use that particular area, so for the benefit of the community. So this is called as community forest rights. So what happens, apart, see, this and all is not required. You'll go to the next point. This is important. The Gram Sabha, we already know that that lot of confusion everywhere. The statement is misused. They are saying the Gram Sabha is the one who is going to settle these results. So you have to be very careful that the Gram Sabha will be the authority to initiate the process, and they are given much power in designing what kind of projects can be brought out in these areas. Okay, in these what type of projects can be undertaken. With consultation with the local community, they will make the arrangement, because they are the one who are much enabled than the other state government or the central government who decide about these development projects in that area. Okay, this way they are empowered, various angle. And another important thing which you can note under this act is critical wildlife habitat. Okay, this critical wildlife habitat means how said that the tribals or the forest dwellers have their right, individual right or the community right inside the forest to worship their deity. They will cross the forest, they will go inside the forest, they will go to worship the deity and all. That is community forest reserve. Customary rights they do have. Like this, we told the rights about the people, rights of the people. Now here we are talking about the rights of the animal. That is why this is called as critical wildlife habitat. Okay, so here who is responsible? The Ministry of Environment and Forest is responsible of declaring an area inside a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, okay, as critical wildlife habitat. Okay, there nobody can enter that area because it should be kept inviolate of the people's access. Okay, so it should be inviolate, that people disturbance should not be there in that area. Okay, so that's how the critical wildlife habitat is rest. So what happened, what they will do, uh, even though the tribals who are previously utilizing that area, they will recognize their rights. But what they will do, they will try to resettle the people. So this is how even in NTCA they have given this point. So in such a way that that area have to be devoid of any human interferences for the safeguarding the particular animal, particular species. Okay, so then yes, so these are some of the how they are establishing it. Specifically, clearly established case by case on the basis of scientific and objective criteria only. They are doing it to keep us inviolate for the purpose of wildlife conservation, as may be determined and notified by the central government. So now we'll move to the next part. See this. This is compensatory afforestation fund. And this was in 2018, and it came to force in 2018 only. So the act mainly said that you can establish a fund in the name of National Compensatory Afforestation Fund. How, where you can establish under the public accounts of India, you can establish the fund. So there are three funds, no, contingency fund, like that we are in polity, will be studying three fund: consolidated fund and public account. In the public account, under the public account, you are keeping this fund, afforestation fund. Okay, so this afforestation fund will be used to raise the forest because you are using the, you are trying to deforest one area and try to use it for the developmental purpose. And now the fund has to be deposited, and at the same time land also should be given. If it is not a forest area, then the land should be at least minimum 5 acres should be given to the as a compensation. Okay, so now here in this you will be raising the forest using the fund. That's for purpose only we brought this compensatory afforestation fund. Okay, and the compensatory afforestation authority is also responsible for taking care of those activities. As you can see, these are some of the objectives of that compensatory afforestation authority. As you can see, to promote the afforestation and developmental activities. Okay, for that purpose we have brought them, and mainly these to lay down, it's not law down, it's lay down effective guidelines for the state. Okay, guiding the state. They are giving, they are making a policies, when they are making a scheme or any law, rule or regulations, these people will try to advise also. At the same, they also will give guidelines for the state. So again, they will provide assistance in the case of scientific, technological and other requirement. Okay, right? For the state CAMPA. State also having a CAMPA for that. And also the planning, I already told, strategic planning and authorities of the state CAMPA. And to resolve the issues, if it is arising, any issues arising between interstate, between two states or between a center and a state, so they will be trying to resolve that issue. Okay, so the main objective is to utilize the CAMPA fund only for that purpose for what it is made. Only for that purpose for what it is established, not for some other purpose. Already this came in the this issue was addressed in the newspapers also. A lot of fund was laying idle under the CAMPA fund. That means no afforestation activities are taken care of. So they may again deviate or divert the fund. For that, the CAMPA authority will be watching all these things. They know, they have to check whether the fund is used only for the afforestation purpose or for some other purpose. This way they will be checking the activities of the governments, right? Now we'll go to the schemes or programs related to conservation of forest. So we have seen almost 3 act, in that rules also, forest conservation rules also we have seen. So now we'll move to the scheme or program which is there, which is formed for conservation of forest. One such program is UN Red. Already several times UPSC has asked question. And there is a new section which is formed under UN Red. So far question has not come from that. So first we'll initially introduce what is UN Red. UN Red is nothing but it's a platform. We can say it's a platform for the forest problems. They are giving some solutions. Okay. If related to climate change, a lot of problems are faced by the forest. Every ecosystem is facing a problem, including the forest. So here going to give some solutions. So this launched around 2008. This platform was launched. So classification also, this is very important, right? And this mainly what they are going to do, they are going to develop the capacity, they are going to build the capacity, and they are going to increase the technical knowledge also of the people. So for that purpose only this was launched by three bodies. One is FAO, the special body of one FAO, and UND and UNEP. These three, as we have mentioned here, you can see FAO, UNDP, and UNEP. All these joined together and launched this UN Red platform. Okay, so what is the main purpose of UN Red? To stop the deforestation, okay, and land degradation, to reduce emissions from deforestation and land degradation. That means when you are trying to cut down the forest, previously forest used to store the carbon. Now when you are cutting the forest, the carbons are released out. So in order to reduce the emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, they launched this platform, that is UN Red. Then what they did, they upgraded this program in the form of UN Red Plus. Okay, UN Red Plus. As you can see, the UN Red Plus is mainly for there. Mainly, this is the aim of the UN Red. That means by 2025, it aims to achieve forest emission reduction by 1 gigaton per year. You can note this. This is also important section. After this, we will go to UN Red Plus, and to raise 5 billion US dollars for this purpose. Okay, and again, over 15 countries should bring forest related goals in their NDC. NDC was proposed in the Paris Agreement. We all know in the United Nations Climate Conference, in the Paris Conference, they told that every country can come out with their nationally determined contribution, because not everyone are equal. Like five fingers, they are not equal. One is developing stage, one is developed, one is in the emerging stage, one is least developed, one is very poor. So how can you one goal for everyone? They will not be able to follow, and especially climate related solutions you will not be able to follow because you don't have sufficient fund. So they said that, okay, fine, we are giving that to you. You can come up with your own contribution. What you are going to do for the next year, 10 years, or next 20 year, next 30 year, next 50? Just give us some contributions. What you are going to do. So that's that contribution. Every sector will be focused. Every ecosystem, type of ecosystems will be focused, and they will form a set a goal. Now, it is not must that everything has to be addressed there. Every country will, according to their own desire, they will fix the goal. So they, according to UN Red, they said that at least we have to increase the forest ambitions for 15 countries. This is also one of their aim only. So these are the aim of UN Red. And what is UN Red Plus then? See, UN Red is trying to reduce the emission from deforestation and land degradation. UN Red Plus is going above that. That means not only reducing the emissions from forest degradation, so deforestation and forest degradation. So Red Plus is a framework which was which was created by UNFCCC. We saw that Red is a platform which was launched by FAO, UNDP, and UNEP. Now UNFCCC joined together and they set the framework in the name of Red Plus. Okay, so this Red Plus is nothing but plus means you are going to reduce the emission plus you are going to conserve the forest. Two things join together, and that is called as Red Plus. Red Plus is talking about sustainably managing the forest. How are you going to sustainably manage the forest? For this, how you are going to enhance forest cover. There they only spoke about how you are going to reduce deforestation, but here they are talking about how not only stopping forestation, how we are going to enhance, improve the forest cover through various measures like agroforestry, social forestry, urban forestry, whatever way you can, but you have to enhance the forest cover. That is the ambition of Red Plus. And Red Plus framework was given out by UNFCCC. So then these are some of the things which you know that this is called as Warsaw framework also. Red Plus framework is also called as Warsaw framework. They may also ask in this name. Okay, so then we'll go to the next important section in this. See, these are the 5 Red Plus activity. You can see these are the goal. These are the main ambition of RED plus. Reducing emission from deforestation, degradation, reducing emission. I told you, no, reducing emission from two. Conservation of forest carbon stocks, that is conserving the forest. Enhancement of forest carbon stock, improving the forest. Sustainably managing the forest. So these are added in RED plus. So RED consists of this two, but RED plus added these three. Conserving, enhancing, sustainably managing. So this way you have to remember. Then we have see, along with this, so this is also one important point you can keep in mind. Along with that, like reducing the emission plus conserving and sustainably managing the forest, these activities is also providing important adaptations. Climate change adaptation co-benefit is also coming along with that. Climate change adaptation co-benefit along with reduction of emissions and conserving the forest. So as well as why we are saying climate change adaptation co-benefit is here. As you know that when forests are completely degraded, when there is no forest, what happens? People will have nothing, because they will have no benefit. Like, for example, mangrove is a kind of forest only, mangrove forest. When if there is no mangrove, in the 2004 tsunami has happened, a lot of people would have completely wiped out. It's because it was mangrove at certain ecosystems, certain places, the people were completely saved and protected. This is one service we can see with our own eyes. Same way, forest is giving a lot of benefit to people, services, even fresh air, clean air. There will be no purify there, then you have to fix purifiers everywhere. So this way they said that the man and the nature has to coexist, especially the forest is should be in a mutual symbiotic relationship only. So climate change adaptation benefit is given by forest, especially the UN Red Plus program. Okay, then that in that how this activities are funded, the Red Plus activities and all, who is going to fund? So it is not a single body which is funding, or it's not a trust fund, or it is not a fund which is proposed by Red Plus. It is a multilateral finance. It is attracting multilateral finances. Okay, from like you take Green Climate Fund, Global Environment Facility, Forest Carbon Partnership Facility. These are funds which is already existing. These funds will come and fund this program. And even bilateral finances, that is, one country which is very poor will take fund from the donor country. So they too will join together. It's bilateral finance. Private sectors can finance. Private foundation, NGOs can come and finance. Even domestic investments, the same country can invest for the UN Red activity. Okay. So then like this, we will come to the last section of UN Red, that is CBR plus. Community based Red Plus is called as CBR plus. Okay, this is a full form. Community based Red Plus. I think I have not written here. So community based Red Plus is called as CBR plus. Okay, so community based Red Plus means what? So previously we only spoke about governance, but now we are talking about good governance. Same way, they said instead of government and bodies managing the forest and enhancing the forest cover, let us involve the local people, the local community who are already there, who are already protecting the forest even before the government entered inside. So let us involve them and give fund to them directly, to the indigenous community, indigenous people who are protecting the forest. So this was proposed by Global Environment Facility. This is again a fund which is important fund. UCS also asked a question. They conduct a program called Small Grants Program. Okay, SGP. In this name they conduct a program, and through this program they have initiated a process under UN Red, name of CBR plus. So instead of delivering fund to the country, to the government, we can give fund to the indigenous people and the community who are residing near the forest, to empower them to fully engage in the protection of the forest. So this way they try to bring in a new program called as the CBR plus. So this is financed by both the Red program, no, Red is already having fund, has receiving funds from through various ways we have seen. So along with that, the SGP, sorry, Small Grants Program will also fund this project. Okay, right. So these are some of the objectives which you can learn. And now we'll go to the strategic plan for forest 2017-2030. This way only, which is very dry, which nobody will focus, UPSC will focus and ask a question. So this was proposed by UN ECOSOC and United Nations General Assembly. They adopted the strategic plan for forest 2017 to 2030. So this is the 5th year, so you have to be very careful. There might be a question. Okay, so the UN strategic plan for forest will be from the period of 2017 to 30, and the strategic plan, it provides for a global framework for action. Okay, global level you have to bring an action, and the action has to happen at all levels. Not only only government has to act. People can sit idle and watch. Not in that way. Every level the action has to take place. So that is the main focus of this strategic framework. And for what reason? To sustainably managing the forest, we require this. Okay, and not only forest, but they are saying addressing the trees outside forest also. You can add this also, and through this we are going to halt the deforestation, and forest degradation has to be halted. And it includes, this plan includes 6 global forest goals and 26 targets, okay, under them, which has to be achieved by 2030. 2030 is the time period for them, and this is not compulsory on the member countries. This is completely voluntary, and it is also universal in nature. So the main target of this program or this strategic plan is to increase the forest by at least 3%. No, to increase the forest by 3% worldwide. By 2030, the increase has happened significantly. In this way, if it has done, if 3 has increased, then there will be 120 million hectares increase in the forest cover. Okay, so this, for this, the objective is supported by international arrangement on forest, IAF, international arrangement on forest. Okay, and mainly this try to progress on the sustainable, mainly this is trying to achieve the sustainable development goals. Not only that, H biodiversity target already it has expired. Now we are talking about global biodiversity framework. So then now it is global biodiversity framework and Paris agreements also, under the UN conventions. What are the conventions are there to support that also, the strategic plan. Now, the next section from this particular forest area is World Forestry Congress. Maybe there might be a question, that's why posted here. So it will be hosted 6 years once. FAO, Food and Agriculture Association, only will host it. The first Congress was mainly held 1926. That is 1926. This Congress was held here in Italy. So main aim of this Congress is to sharing the environment and forest related problems will be discussed in that Congress. Okay, from across the globe, a lot of people will participate, like educators, scientists, private sectors, governments, communities, youth, everyone will participate in this Congress, and there they will discuss about the various problems, forest related problems, which is occurring around the globe, like biodiversity loss. Everything is interlinked, and climate change and forest loss, like this they will be discussing the problem and find out with the solutions. Okay, and in 2022 the 15th World Forestry Congress was concluded in Seoul. It took place in Seoul after a long time, 6 years. This year it happened, so there might be a chance of asking. And there they proposed a Seoul Forest Declaration, which was adopted. Okay, and you can see, again, one additional information is, so far the Forest Congress has been held in Asia, in Indonesia only. In 1978 they hosted there. The Seoul Forest Declaration main aim is to bring innovative green financing mechanisms. So they calls for innovative green financing mechanism to upscale the investment in forest conservation, restoration and sustainable use. Okay, for that green investment has been attracted. That is the main focus area of the Seoul Declaration. Okay, then you can see this. It also highlights the investment in the landscapes and forest restoration, and which has to be tripled across the globe by 2030. So this is another important point. If asking, they'll be asking this point only. So this is one of the important target, but be tripled by 2030. And in this, new partnerships was also proposed in this World Forestry Congress, like the future of forest with integrated risk management mechanisms. Okay, assuring the future of forest with integrated risk management mechanism, sustaining an abundance of forest ecosystem, safe initiative. All these are some of initiatives which has been started in the Congress. Right, now we'll move to the next ecosystem. Before that, the forest survey. Again, survey is again important point. So for important section which you have to focus with related to forest. In that, some data like this is important. The total forest in the country, how much it is, whether it has increased or decreased, which are the states which have shown the increase, which are the states which have shown the decrease. As you can see, the top 3 states showing increase in forest cover are these. Okay, and area wise, Madhya Pradesh is the one who is having the largest forest cover in the country. Then only comes the Arunachal Pradesh and Chhattisgarh and Odisha, area wise. That means huge area is under the forest cover. Okay, this is the forest cover as percentage of total geographical area. Top 5 states will be Mizoram, then Arunachal Pradesh, because 84% of the state is having forest. Then Arunachal Pradesh, 79% of the area in the state is having forest. This way you have to study the data of Forest Survey of India. Okay, every 2 years once the report will be released. And now see this, the mangroves and all will be seeing another mangrove cover we need not discuss here. We'll move to the next ecosystem. In between, like this is one cloud forest, one small data related to cloud forest, because during COP27 of UNFCCC, which was taking place, there was a NGO which proposed which released a report in the name of cloud forest asset. So this attracted the world bodies. Cloud forest asset, they said that there are another kind of forest which is existing in our world, which is invisible to the people's eyes also, like how it usually be invisible like this. So this is called cloud forest because this is an equatorial forest only, like how we said about the tropical rainforest. This is also an equatorial forest, but it is there in the mountain, above the mountain, above 3000 meter to 10,000 meter. You will find this above the mean sea level. You will find this forest. This forest is also having an equatorial climate only. They are hot, they are warm, they are moist. Okay, they are humid, and they apart from acting as a carbon sink, they also play a very important part in hydrological cycle, because in this forest the trees are very very short. Okay, and what happens, in the equatorial forest they're very tall, I told you, no. So here they are short, and since they are short, you can see the epiphytes which are up, in the tropical forest, the main character of the forest is epiphytes. The epiphytes which are sitting above the trees looks like the topmost layer of the forest. So that's why they are like called as epiphytic forest also. Apart from this, this forest has saline soil only, because the water, the moist droplets which are there present, no, as you can see, the cloud is always occupying, the mist is present, no. So this mist and the humidity is high. Now you can see small water droplets on the leaf, and this water droplets will get collected in one place, and then it drips down to the layer of the forest, and it is completely wet throughout. Okay, so this way this plays an important role in hydrological cycle also. So these are called as the cloud forest. You have to even in one of my classes which I already discussed in the YouTube, I have discussed about in the marathon session, I have discussed elaborately about the equatorial forest. So you can see that. So what for purpose they discussed about it, they for the bond, they said there should be a bond which has to be open, and where the people who are utilizing the services of the cloud forest has to contribute the amount for the protection of the cloud forest also. This way they discussed. Now we'll move to the next ecosystem, that is grassland. So what is the character of a grassland? Grassland means they are very not having much rainfall also, not very dry also. Okay, so in between the rainfall will be there in order to support the grasses, but not to support the trees, right? So the soil depth is also soil depth and the soil quality is also very poor. That is why the trees cannot grow in the grassland. And not only this, since the rainfall is usually low, there will be always droughts and fires which will happen in the grasslands. And the grasses can survive the fire, but the trees cannot survive the fire. So that is the peculiar character of the grassland. Okay, and again you can see that what are the threats which is faced by this grassland? Overgrazing. Even you take India, country like India, most of the grasslands which cannot succeed in the ecological succession, grasslands has to move to a forest. But why it is not moving to a forest? Because the human induced arrest through the form of overgrazing the cattle, burning the grasses, and cultivating, converting it into cultivation land, deforestation. Then and there you find trees there, you will cut down the tree, okay, for their own usage. So this way the human induced ecological succession arrest is happening in India. That's why grasslands are remaining grasslands. And apart from that, several factors are that, like fire. All these factors are also deciding factor for keep maintaining a grassland as a grassland. Okay, and the benefits which are provided. Okay, grassland is also required. Not only forest, we also require a grassland. Why we require grasslands? Grasslands also can store carbon. They can act as a carbon sink. They are important resource for several gene pools. Like you take various kind of rices has been served out from the grasslands only. Okay, so rice, you take wheats, you take small millets. We have got everything from the grassland. And also it also supports a unique kind of flora and fauna which can only present in the grassland community. Okay. right? And even when there is a lot of rainfall and the river is over flooded, this grassland will try to retain the water, and it will also circulate the water in the hydrological cycle. So that's how you can see that grasslands is also playing a very important role, and many pastoral communities are dependent on the grasslands for their livelihood. There is nothing much program or protection measures for grasslands. Now we are moving to the next one, that is desert. So desert means the unique feature of the desert. What are the feature, character of desert? There is no vegetation at all. Desert is completely dry. So there is fluctuation, great fluctuation in the temperatures, hot days, cold nights. Even floras and faunas, you cannot find much. Okay, soil will not have adequate nutrients, and there is very little organic matter, we can say, in the soil. The soil does not have humus content. Like the forest, they do not have a humus content. So the lower plants like lichens and mosses are also found in some deserts. Okay, and also you can see this deserts. They do have a vegetation. No, so the vegetation is poor. Then what happens? There will be less number of decomposers also. That's why less number of nutrients in the soil. Mostly the soil you take, they are aeridic soils only, aeridic salts we call them as. Okay, so these type of soils are present there. Minerals are present in a that minerals are higher. No, salts, minerals are present in these forests, and they are rich resource of gypsum. Types of our minerals are found, can be traced out from the desert, but there is lack of nutrients. That's why a lot of plants will not grow in these types of ecosystem. Okay, right? Then we'll go to the another important section under the desert. If I want to discuss, then I'll consider this one, UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, which came out in 1994 and it was ratified around 1996. You also know the sisterly conventions along with this is UNFCCC and CBD. We have already discussed several times. So this convention is mainly brought in order to improve the stop the desertification and to rectify the drought related problems. Okay, for that purpose only they have brought it. So that's why we can say this particular convention is mainly acting on the principles of participation. So no government can simply go stand there and reduce the effect due to drought or desertification and all, land becoming degraded, losing their nutrients, losing their enrichment, fertility, they're losing it. That is called degradation. So you cannot stop it single-handedly. For that, people's participation is required. That's why this convention is acting on the principles of participation and partnerships and even decentralization only. That is, we are giving much focus to the people who are below, who are at the lower level, okay, who are at the bottom level. The grassroots level people are given importance here. Okay, like that. So their participation is, community participation is very, very important, and that's why we call this as a bottom up approach. Okay, so this convention is mainly brought to focus the dry lands only. Dry lands means it includes all the arid areas, semi-arid areas, dry subhumid, because if there is a desert which is present, that's a arid area. What happened automatically, the desert starts spreading, desertification starts happening. Okay, so that's called as desertification because the nearby lands also will turn to a desert immediately. So it's the most vulnerable area. That's why arid areas and semi-arid and dry subhumid areas and all will be projected in according to this convention. Okay, so here the convention will unite various kinds of people like the governments, the scientists, the policy makers, even the private sectors, communities. I already told communities will be there. As you can see, we have mentioned here, scientists, policymakers, private sectors, communities will all join together in order to restore and manage the world's land. So bringing the land degradation to a neutrality is very important. Land degradation neutrality is the one which is a framework which is set under UNFCCC. Okay, so then see, these are some of the managing bodies under UNFCCC, COP and GM. COP was established by this convention only, it came into, and it's a decision making body. So even UNFCCC, it is a decision making body. Yearly once they will meet. In this case, they are meeting 2 years once. They will meet. The UNCCD will meet 2 years once, and they will decide. They are the deciding body. And again, the global mechanism. This was also established in 1991, mainly for mobilizing financial resources to support the convention. They are here. Global mechanism is there. Okay. Then this is the new alliance which was formed recently. India is not a member of this alliance. So this alliance is called International Drought Resilience Alliance. It is co-hosted by UNCCD. UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, has co-hosted this alliance. So that's why I brought it here. So it was done by Senegal. Okay, the country called Senegal, as you can see here, the Spain and Senegal has co-hosted this alliances in the support of UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. So here, what idea you can get from this Drought Resilience Alliance? Since I already told, the UNCCD is the convention was brought for two purposes. One is to combat desertification, another is to reduce the drought effect. Okay, same way the International Drought Resilience Alliance mainly focuses on, it's like a platform, we can say that this alliance will function as a platform means you all know they will bring together the political supports and fund resources. They will mobilize resources in order to stop, okay, in order to stop drought. Otherwise, I can say to enhance drought resilience techniques in countries, in various countries, in some cities, in some communities, everywhere. So they will generate political momentum, and they also will try to mobilize the resources in order to bring drought resilience, in order to support drought resilience techniques, and they will always support or promote full engagement of the stakeholders. So like how that UNCCD is told that everyone can come and participate, including private sectors, government, community, individual people. Same way, this also will bring in various stakeholders, like the private sector can come and participate, okay, and even the foundations can come and participate. In this way, these people participate in the Drought Resilience Alliance. So simply it's to share the information. Platform itself means to share the information only. How you can rectify drought, how you can reduce drought. And very recently, who also was discussing some idea in the platforms like the moringa tree, which is in India, which is acting as against a malnutrition. So that way they said that if that area is hit by drought, you have to have this moringa tree, which is a deciduous tree, which can survive in a drought-like situation also, and it will give nourishment for you. The leaves, starting from leaves to bark to parts, anything, you can consume it. Okay, so that's how you have to keep this in mind. It's a knowledge sharing platform. Okay, then where they will share all the ideas. What your country is doing, share it with me. What I'm doing, I'll share it with you in this way. Now at present, this alliance has 30 countries and 20 organizations is present inside the alliance, including IUCN, GEF, UNEP, Environment Facility, United Nations Environment Program, UNDP, okay, Asian Development Bank. Like this, we have various organizations inside that. I'll come to the next ecosystem, that is coral reef. Under coral reef, what you have to know, why you have to know about coral reef this year. Coral reef, then and there questions will come. Last year also in 2022 they asked a question. There is less possibility of asking continuously, but sometimes that might come. So instead of asking the thing which came in the current affairs, they will ask the data related to coral reef. We already have discussed. There's a separate video for coral reef I have made, and you can take a elaborate knowledge from that video. But here I will do shortly because we don't have sufficient time, so I'll do shortly. You all know corals are underwater structures. It is not an organism. It is a structure, like an engineering structure. It's a structure you can see under the water, constructed by an animal called as polyp. Okay, that polyp belong to Cnidaria group of animal kingdom. So this polyp mostly they can live also. Some species of the Cnidaria will live alone in the coral. They are called as soft corals. They do not form shells. They live alone. The soft corals, you can see it will be like wavering in the sea water. But the hard corals will form calcium carbonate shells. Okay, deposits. You can see that they will live over that only in association with an algae called as zooxanthellae, and both will live in symbiotic association. So the polyps will provide metabolic waste and place to stay for the algae. Algae will provide food. This way they will do together. Mostly corals are found throughout the world. Okay, cold water also you can find, even in depth also you'll find, but it prefers, the corals prefers the tropical waters. In between 23 to 29 degrees Celsius, they like temperature if it is 23 to 29 degrees Celsius, and mostly they are found in, that's why they are found in the tropical zones, widely distributed there. And the reef building corals, you can see that that is called as hermatypic. Reef building is hermatypic, and this they require warm, clear and shallow water to survive. Okay, so that's very important, warm, clear, shallow water. So these are some of the conditions. And more than this line as such it appeared in the exams. 100 countries have reefs. Okay, more than 100 countries is having coral reefs in them, and in that largest reefs are found in these countries. Australia, starting from Australia having Great Barrier Reef, then comes Indonesia, then comes Philippines, then Papua New Guinea and Fiji, and then comes Maldives. Okay, small island countries only in coral reefs, lot of coral reefs. So the Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef in the world. And in India, if you see, what are the areas which are consisting the coral reef? As you can see, this Andaman and Nicobar island is having the largest reef area. Then comes the Lakshadweep, then comes Gulf of Kutch, and then comes Gulf of Mannar. So they have the coral in this order. You can study. Okay. Then mostly, what are the benefits these corals are giving? So corals are called as the rainforest of our sea. Okay, like how the first forest we saw, no, the rainforest, the tropical rainforest, the evergreen forest. Same way, the corals are called also rainforest of the underwater. Why? Because even it is supporting more number of species than a rainforest. That's why it's called as a rainforest. Variety of species you can find here, diversity, and then it is providing a lot of benefit to the people, like starting with food and fishing. The major fishing spots you can see near the coral reef only they will do. Even tourism, through this the people are earning a lot of money, and they also protect the people from the natural calamities. This way there are a lot of benefit which is offered by the coral reef. And even you can see corals are also used there is an important source of medicines. It's like a medicine cabinet, we can say, from where a lot of medicines are served out by the people. Okay, for the terminal illness like cancer also we are finding a lot of medicines from the organisms which are present near the corals. And then what are the threats which is faced by this coral ecosystem? Even natural threat is there. Apart from that, the anthropogenic threat, like they are mining the coral. How they are doing river mining, the sand mining and quarrying, no, stone quarrying. They are mining the coral, they are cutting down and keeping it inside the houses as a decoration. Okay, are making jewelries and all. So this is one threat we are facing. And again, they are going to fishing. No, I already told it's a good fishing spot. So when they are going for fishing, they are dropping down bombs, they're dropping down cyanides, the poisons. It also kills the corals. This way, these are some of the threats the corals are facing. Even the mangroves, if you're cutting down mangrove forest, then what happened? I already told they require water. So now what happened? All the sediments will come to the coral reefs, and the coral reefs is completely destructed. Okay, so this way, even unsustainable tourism you can take. Again, pollution is also killing the coral reef. Oil spills, all this come and accumulate near the coral, and it is completely choking them out. Even the diseases, coral diseases, then and there you can hear news related to that. The climate change is completely affecting coral in the form of coral bleaching. You can see that's the main issue that coral reef appeared in the news. Cryomesh technology. Very recently, the Marine Institute of Australia has developed, came out with the cryomesh technology to preserve the coral and to reintroduce them again in the wild, to preserve the coral. So why they brought such a technology, why they designed such a technology? Because a lot of issues has happened with the Great Barrier Reef. In the last 4 years, 7 coral bleaching event has occurred in the Great Barrier Reef. So what is coral bleaching? Coral bleaching means the algae is expelled out by the coral because the sea temperature changes. There is slight variation or modification in the sea temperature, and then the coral is very sensitive to that. It expels the symbiont algae, and they die without food. So they look pale color without any color. You can see the corals are beautifully colored. No, see this like purple color it is, if because of the algae is present. And if the algae is expelled out, they will become white color, and this is called as coral bleaching. And then what are the initiatives which are taken for the coral bleaching? See, you can note on your own. ICRI is one such initiative. Already UPSC has asked a question. Now see this Global Fund for Coral Reef. Global Fund for Coral Reef is a one and only blended finance instrument. That means both the government and the private will join together. They will fund for the protection of coral reef. So it's a one and only blended instrument for the protection of coral reef, where this fund will initiate action also. It will bring resources also. Okay, two-way, in such a way that this fund was proposed, which was officially announced during the 2020 UN session. UN United Nations General Assembly will be conducted. No, in that session only this fund was introduced in the 75th session. That's why I have given importance for this fund. So this was launched by the coalition. So I already told blended finance, coalition of public and public and private partner. Okay, and the ambition is to mobilize around $625 million US dollars for the coral reef conservation over the next 10 years. 2020 they have announced. So by 2030 they have to mobilize 625 million US dollars for the conservation of coral reef. So this is the main ambition. And this is the only fund which is dedicated for the goal number 14 also. SDG goal number 14 is talking about life underwater. Okay, so this public finance, this fund I told, it's a combination of private sectors, government, and even the foundations, organization like this, anyone can be the member, no? So now who and all has participated in this fund? You can see the government of Germany, government of UK, governments, France, Canada, these are government. So foundation, private foundations like these foundations are present. You know, to read the names of all these foundations, you should know who and all are members of this. Then other UN bodies and international organizations, even private investors are also members of this. Okay, so this way these people have been a part of the fund for coral reef. Then Global Coral Reef Alliance. Suppose this can be asked as a question. This is not a government body or intergovernment body, because when this is asking question related to a body, they will always focus on what type of body it is, whether it's a government body or whether it's an intergovernmental body or whether it's an NGO. Okay, this way they will be focusing the questions. So Global Coral Reef Alliance is completely an NGO only. It's a not-for-profit organization. Mainly that is formed for protecting and managing the threatened ecosystems. Okay, not only coral reef, the complete marine ecosystem they will take care. So this GCRA is again a group of, it's a coalition of volunteers, because it's an NGO. So NGO will open its membership for anyone. Any volunteers can come and join. Any scientists, any environmentalists, any organization, any people can come and join this Global Coral Reef Alliance, and they will develop technologies. Okay, so this technology was the one which was asked in 2022 in the question paper. You got question from this only. See, these are the two technology which was developed. One is mineral accreditation technology and the other is biorock technology. This was mainly for restoring the ecosystem, marine ecosystem, including the coral reef. This two technology. In this, they asked question from the biorock technology only. And apart from this, they also have hotspot method. This is otherwise called as ridge to reef. Okay, otherwise called as ridge to reef or hilltop to ocean. This is there to mainly predict the coral bleaching. Okay, coral bleaching, and also the whole watershed and coastal zone nutrient management. For that, we are having this technology. Hotspot method. So again, they may not repeating the same, but you have to know about it. So we have, I have fixed here. And this cryomesh, I already told you, freezing the coral and reintroducing into the wild later. So it's a cheapest technology which has been invented so far. Mainly they will take the coral, they will freeze it around minus 196 degrees Celsius, and then the coral larva, after the condition has been settled, they will be reintroduced again, and then they will grow them. Okay, so this is cryomesh technology. And you can see the coral spawning. Sometimes question can be from this, because in the Tahiti, recently they discovered a very small area only, but they discovered corals. So what type of corals they discovered? Hard type of, that is stony corals only they discovered. These corals, no, it is a very, it's a natural phenomena. Spawning means a reproduction which takes place in a group manner. That is, all the corals which are present in that area will release their eggs and sperms at the same time. So the colorful eggs and colorful sperms will come out, and they will move to the surface of water, and there they will fertilization starts taking place. That is called as coral spawning. It's a natural phenomena which occurs in a hard corals, that is stony corals. That means the corals, reef building corals. Okay, so this you have to keep in mind. They may give any term. They may say coral spawning means this, it's a preservation technology, like that they may give some different information in the question paper. Now we come to the next ecosystem, that is mangroves. So we all know about mangroves a lot. So mangroves are nothing but these types of plant, as you can see this, have roots like this. These are roots of this plant. Specifically, they are adapted to this to live in the water itself. Since they are in the water, the soil which is below the water will always be saline in character, and there is less air. Oxygen is also not much. Okay, so they have to survive in that kind of soil. and that's why they have a different kind of adaptation mechanisms. Okay, so these are salt tolerant plants, you can say these are salt tolerant plants, halophyte, we call them as halophyte. And these mangroves are present in the tropical as well as subtropical regions. You can find mangroves. Okay, they are present both in tropical and subtropical intertidal zones, you'll find them. And mainly if there is heavy rainfall, and you can find the mangroves are located in that area, and the temperature also should be in this range, 26 to 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, so see this, they have to live in water which is so they have to live where the soil is completely waterlogged and it is having low oxygen, and the slow moving water will be there. That means it looks like as if the water is accumulated there and has been collected there, and it stops there, like that it looks like, but it moves, it keeps on moving only. And that's why, since it is very slow, it will not carry the sediments which it is bringing. So all the sediments will be there left over near the mangroves, and mangrove roots are designed in such a way that it will trap the sediments also. That's a very important benefit that mangroves provides for us. And this root, as you can see, this root, so this root stop will give protection to the people from cyclones, even the fast moving, the storm surges, everything, it will withstand everything. Okay, so these are some additional roots which comes out. So that adaptation mechanism only we call that as prop roots and stilt roots. So that is additional root which is dropped. As you can see, this is prop root. So before going into the distribution, I'll show the prop root for you. See, these are prop roots. From the branches of tree, extra roots will come out, and this will fix in the land. So what happens now, this also has small spores, that is spores in them, and through the spores the plant starts breathing, because oxygen cannot be taken from the waterlogged soils. And these are some of the roots which are present from the nodal area. Okay, here also there will be a lot of pores through which the oxygen is taken in. So these are the distribution of mangroves. Mangroves are present, completely in the tropical and subtropical regions. So you can find around 113 countries having for a mangrove cover, and in that the large mangrove area is reported from Asia. Asia is having largest mangrove area. Then comes Africa, then comes North and Central America, and then South America, and then Oceania. Like this, we have split it. So then you can see the more than 40% of the total area of mangroves was reported from Indonesia, Brazil, Nigeria, and Mexico. So these are the 4 countries which are having the top 4 mangrove area. And in India, you can see that mangroves are present throughout the West Bengal, Gujarat, Andaman and Nicobar, Andhra Pradesh. So all the coastal areas you'll find mangroves. Okay, so this is a data, this is a table I have arranged that largest mangrove area is present in West Bengal only. Accordingly, we have put up here. And you can see the mangrove cover type. So the mangrove cover type, starting from very dense mangrove, even in forest, we used to split like this. So very dense mangrove, moderately dense, and open mangroves. So very dense means the canopy density should be more than 70%. Moderately dense means 70 to 40%. Open mangrove means it should be 10 to 40%, and less than 10% we never consider it as a forest. No, in the first definition when I'm opening up, I told you. So in India, you can see that very dense forest, which is higher, is moderately dense mangrove is higher. Higher proportionate is moderately dense mangrove. Then comes the very dense mangrove. Then comes open mangroves. Okay. So this way you have to keep the facts in mind. Questions will be focused from this area. Definitely you are getting questions. Then we are moving. See, these are some of the unique species which are present. I already told there where land and that is river meeting a sea, where the land, there is an interface between the land and the ocean. So now the water comes inside like a backwater, and it's staying there, slowly moving inside. So that's a mangrove. So there is something called as ecotone. We already described it. What is ecotone? Unique place. It's a transformation zone between two community, we said. So now this have a unique species in them. Like you can see, this is a fiddler crab. This is otherwise called as a horseshoe crab. It looks like this only, like a scorpion it will look like, but when you rotate him, you will find like a fossilized crab it will be. So these are crabs. These are found there, and as you can see, this is mud skipper fishes. You can find this type of organisms also there. This fish will climb trees. It will come out of the water, and it will climb the trees also, and the fishing cat which will eat the fishes. So these are some of the organisms which are present there. And then you can see that mangroves, what are the benefits they are giving? They are protecting the coastal zone, they are stabilizing the coastline, they are providing livelihood for the people. Okay, so they are also trying to protect the coral reefs by trapping the sediments, by trapping the sediments and pollutions. That is why they are called as kidneys of the land. Kidneys of the land. Kidneys are trapping the pollution load in our body. Same way, the unnecessary materials are trapped by the kidneys. Same way, and purifying the blood. That is the main function. No, same way. Here he is trapping the sediments and purifying the water to be taken by the coral reefs. Okay, so that these are some of the acts and policies which are already there to protect the mangrove ecosystems, like the Coastal Regulation Zone, which was proposed under the Environment Protection Act 1986 and the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Indian Forest Act 1927, Biological Diversity Act 2002. So one time they asked which are the acts which are having bearing on biodiversity. Same way, there might be a possibility that they may ask which are the acts which is insisting for the protection of mangrove ecosystem. Then you have to know not only the Environment Protection Act. Okay, under the Environment Protection Act, that there is a coastal regulation zone. So Environment Protection Act is one such act. Same way, the Wildlife Protection Act is also protecting mangrove. Indian Forest Act is also protecting mangrove. Okay, and Biological Diversity Act is also protecting mangroves. So these are something which you have to keep in mind. Then very recently the government proposed Misty scheme for mangrove plantation. So that only we have given here. Because in the Misty scheme, for what purpose they brought it? They mainly brought to preserve the coral reefs which is existing in our country. And not only that, to improve the mangrove plantations. Okay, by planting more mangrove saplings to improve the mangrove plantation, they have brought this Misty scheme. Okay, to protect the mangrove, to preserve the mangrove forest in the country. Okay, see this. How it is they are going to implement this Misty scheme? It should be implemented by using the CAMPA fund. Compensatory Afforestation Fund is there, no? Then Magnaregas and other sources also they have said. That is not clear. But now, until now, we know that through CAMPA fund. Now only it is proposed. Then when they are trying to implement, they will bring all those sources through which they will improve the mangrove plantations in India. The last ecosystem which I like to discuss is about wetlands. So in the wetlands, you can see how the question so far appeared and how in the future also it is going to appear. That way only we have seen for so far all the ecosystems we have discussed in that manner only. That is why for forest I told types of forest is very important. For grassland, you need not go and study all the types of grasslands, but within each and every type there will be certain data which is present inside. Even last time they asked about Gucci, since Gucci came in the news, okay, in the news release when Prime Minister has spoke about that came in the question paper. Unnecessarily, they will not take anything from inside and they will ask you as a question. So that's how like I am discussing the entire session. So now we are coming to the wetland. So we are discussing about wetland. What is wetland? Wetland means any area which is completely having a hydrated soil. We can say the soil, the water saturation is at the surface. That means either it has to be, the water table has to be above the ground or it should be just below the ground. So that should be always hydrated soil, should be hydric soil. We call this a hydric soil which should be present in the this type of ecosystem. So this is a small general definition I can say. Or simply if to say, if I want to say, if people want to say, they will say that is land which is covered with water. That is called wetland. They will say like that. But the Ramsar Convention has given a proper definition for wetland. They say that any area which is a marsh, which is a fen, which is a peatland, okay, or any water body you take, either it can be naturally formed or it can be made by man artificially, or it can be a permanent one or it can be a temporary one. You know, some completely water will be locked there after for 6 months. After 6 months in the dry season, water will not water, there is no water logging, but water table is sufficient at the sufficient level. So that near the surface you'll have the water table, and it is also it can also be a fresh water, it can be a brackish water, it can be a salt water, and even the marine area, marine water, no, the depth of which should be less than 6 meter is included in the wetland definition. And again they added one more statement also. They said that any area which is nearby the rivers, or even the marine area you take. We disclose some marine area, no, where the depth of which should not exceed 6 meter. Suppose that there is a bay or a lagoon, Anna, you have declared that coastal zone as a wetland. Now the bay is a little bit deeper than the 6 meter, so you cannot simply avoid it. You can also include them inside the wetland, okay, and you can protect them. So this way they have given a definition for wetland. And in India, the state, the percentage comparing, 100% state is there, 100% the state area is there. In that, which state is having highest area covered by the wetland? That means Gujarat is the state which is having highest area covered under the wetland, and then comes West Bengal, then comes Assam, and then comes Tamil Nadu. Like this it goes on. Top four only I have mentioned here. Same way, the bottom four, least wetland, no, where it is present. So Mizoram is the first place where least wetland is present. Then comes Haryana, then comes Delhi, then comes Sikkim. Okay, this way it goes. And see this, the wetland category. How you have to arrange this already in the wetland. I have put a separate video for that. In that elaborately I have discussed. So this is how you have to study. Natural wetland, then man-made wetland. Coastal wetland, so inland wetland and coastal wetland. Inland natural wetland, man-made wetland. Coastal natural wetland, man-made wetlands. In this way you have to arrange everything and then you have to study. So in India, if you see, the inland wetland which is naturally made is occupying the highest percentage, around 43.40% we have them only. Then comes the inland wetland man-made. Then comes the coastal wetland natural. Then coastal wetland man-made. This way you have to arrange and study, right? Then we'll go to the next functions of wetland. What are the functions which is provided by the wetland? Wetland act as a water filter, and already we told mangrove is doing a function as like mangrove is acting as a kidneys. Mangrove can also be a wetland. So I already told that wetland means it includes anything, any area which is waterlogged. So mangrove is waterlogged only, and the water depth should not go 6 meter, above 6 meter. So that type of places will also be included in wetland. So here wetland is also acting as a water filter. So they are also called as the kidneys. Okay, so it is acting as water filter and trapping the sediments and pollutants, and also playing an important role in the hydrological cycle. So whenever there is a, in the riparian wetland and all you take, whenever there is a flood, they will absorb waters from that. Over water will be stored in the wetland. Again, when the river become dry, the water will be circulated from the wetland. Okay, they increase the water table. So in this way, they give fresh water also. They also increases the water table. They also purify the water by trapping down the sediments along with the pollutants. Then wetlands are very important to fight against the climate change, because not only the forest, not only the grasslands, but wetlands can also store carbon. Okay, they act as a carbon sink. So this they also collect and they hold flood waters also, as I said, and then they also protect the people from the natural calamities. Okay, then it acts as a niche, that is place, niche for many species. So it's also most productive ecosystem. Wetland is the most productive ecosystem. For example, marshland, marshes means wetland where there is water with the grassland community which is dominating. So you see that in that kind of wetland and all, you can see they are highly productive. In the ecosystem productivity, in the last session, in the rapid revision, I gave you a diagram given by Whittaker. Very often questions are also asked from the diagram only. In that, mangroves which are coming in the marshy areas, okay, not swamp areas, marshy areas is highly productive. Swampy areas also highly productive only. They are the second productive, highest productive ecosystem in the world after algae. So like this we can say that the wetlands is also important storehouses of lot of genetic materials. Okay, like how we told about grasslands, here also a lot of genetic resources like rices, a lot of different varieties of plants you can find. Okay, pulses you can find here. So you all these will be served out from wetlands, like how you are doing it from grasslands. And even it gives economic benefit to the people, like supplying purified water, recharging the groundwater, and even it helps in fisheries, it helps in agriculture, cultivation, traditional method of cultivation method and all, they will be using this waterlogged areas for cultivation, even for timber production. Okay, like this, it gives lot of benefit to the people. Okay, then even fuels can be traced from wetlands. No, since like peatland, where the lot of organic matters are stored there. Then the decaying organic matter, which can be used as a fuel. Like now, the protection for wetlands. Here, I am not discussing about the 75 wetlands India has added in the wetland sites. We are not going to discuss that. Okay. So when you are preparing notes for a wetland, you have to know, like you have to take a particular wetland which appears in the newspaper, then you have to prepare notes accordingly. Like you have to know what are the rivers which are, if there is any river, if it's a natural wetland, then that definitely there will be a river which will be supporting this wetland. If not, times if a wetland is near, then there might be a protected area which is inside a wetland itself, or this wetland will be inside a protected area. So you have to be very careful. You have to know if there is any national park or any reserve, tiger reserves, or any wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, this way you have to note for some information when you are studying about a wetland, and especially the location. Okay, now we'll go to the Ram Convention. This is a one and only convention which is existing for conservation of wetland. So, how this came into play? This first there happened a Mark conference long back around 1962. This Mark conference took place, and during this conference only, the government and all the individuals, enthusiasts, we can say, environmentalists, they joined together, they came together, they discussed, they proposed that, okay, we have to have a separate treaty which looks into the conservation and protection of wetlands. Now, they proposed in that manner. So then around 19, sorry. So 1971, there was a conference which was held by Iran. Fish, you can see this Iran Game and Fish Department is the one who has conducted that conference. In that, the first time, it took place from February 2 to February 3. This conference took place, and where it took place, near a resort of Iran, that is Ramsar, near in the Ramsar, in a resort in Iran. This conference took place from February 2 to 3, and there they proposed, because previously they told that should be a convention to safeguard this wetland. No, so now they proposed convention on wetlands of international importance, especially as waterfowl habitat. In this name only, this convention was introduced. Okay, in this name it was introduced, and the treaty was signed around in 1971. Yeah, although the treaty was signed in 3rd February 1971, this conference started from 2nd to 3rd February 1971. So the 2nd February only we are celebrating as World Wetland Day. Okay. Then around in 1974, Australia has started depositing the first instrument for accepting this convention, and then lot of governments followed it. And in 1974 only, the Helifan conference, which took place in Germany, which adopted the criteria. There are around 9 criteria now. If a country has to add its site inside the Ramsar list, then it has to follow the 9 criteria to add into the list. Starting from, I have not given the criteria here, you can read it on your own. Starting from criteria 1, which is related to the unique, about the space, some special or uniqueness about that ecosystem. If it is there, then that site can be added. Or it can be related to some species, that is biodiversity, or related to fishes, okay, and other taxas. In this way, the four categories are splitted, and 9 categories are placed under each topic. So in this base, on that basis only, the countries will propose that sites to be added to the wetland list. Okay, so then you see, apart from this, whatever you want to know about the convention, this convention which entered into force, after the UNESCO, since it is not a UN body at all, it is not a UN convention. You have to remember that it's an independent convention only. But UNESCO acted as a depository for the Ramsar Convention. Okay, and the Ramsar is not administered within the UN United Nations system. This is an important fact you have to know. and this is a standalone system. Standalone, it's managed in the standalone format only, and where it is headquartered in Switzerland. The Switzerland, you can see this, and it's hosted under the contract by IUCN. IUCN and UNESCO acts as a depository. Okay, so this is hosted with the under the contract of IUCN, but it's not a UN body, and UNESCO acting as a depository for the convention. So the main objectives of the convention is to conserve the wetland and sustainably use the wetland, and stopping the intrusions and stopping the loss of wetlands. So these are some of the important objectives of the convention. So this intergovernmental treaty provides a framework for the conservation and wise use of wetland. Not only conservation, how well you wisely use the wetland and the resources. So this was also discussed inside the convention. And this convention was adopted in the Iran city of Ramsar in 1971, and it came into force in 1975. Okay, so that's how you have to be very careful. And this time we have added 75 sites inside the Ramsar list. Okay, so that all the bodies which joins into the the convention is called as the contracting bodies. And here the convention carries 3 pillars. That's we have mentioned. See this, we already have discussed that. To the wise use of all wetland, and also mainly you have to designate the wetland under the list of wetlands of international importance. In that way only you can protect the wetland. And if there is any wetland which is located on the transboundary area, which is shared between the countries, you have to completely cooperate, okay, in order to protect those wetlands. So these way there are 3 pillars under this wetland, and this wetland is mainly there to conserve the wetland and sustainably use the wetland, and also to reduce the loss of wetland, okay, to stop the loss of wetland. So this wetland is putting 3 things in the forefront. One is the wise using of wetland. Second is designating a wetland, adding the wetland under the Ramsar list and protecting it. Third, cooperation with the countries for the wetland which is located in transboundary areas. Okay. Then see this Montreux record. This is another name which you have to know under this convention, because this Montreux record is simply a register only. Okay, it's a register of wetlands where that the ecological character has underwent changes, are undergoing changes, or already have changed. There is any change which has already occurred in the ecological character of the ecosystem, that is wetland, or there is change which is occurring in the ecological character of the wetland, or which is about to occur. All these only will be put under the Montreux record. Okay, so this Montreux record is maintained under Ramsar list only. Under the Ramsar, some 48 sites. Now 48 sites have been added under the Montreux record, which is higher alert, which is under higher alert. Okay, so which is completely threatened due to some issues which is going on there. So from India, we have added 2 sites. One is the Loktak Lake of Manipur, and the other one is the Kalidio National Park of Rajasthan. So these are the 2 sites which you can see from India, which has been added inside the Montreux record. And so far 75 sites has been added inside this inside the Ramsar list. Okay. Now there is a scheme which was introduced recently called the Amrit Dharohar scheme. This Amrit Dharohar scheme is mainly to conserve the wetland only, okay, by doing the wise use of the wetland. For that purpose only, protecting and wise use. The scheme is to be implemented in the next 3 years. They will be implemented this scheme, and mainly this scheme is there to how wisely you will use the wetland. So they are trying to increase ecotourism. Ecotourism is encouraged, and the carbon stocks. How to increase the carbon stock in the wetland. Okay, at the same time you have to give benefit to the local community by increasing tourism related. So for that purpose they introduced Amrit Dharohar scheme. Then the last one in this is wetland management rules. In India we formulated the rules. India joined the convention around 1981 by declaring the Chilika Lake as the first site, okay, to be added inside the Ramsar list, because any country which enters into the convention has to declare a site and add a site inside the Ramsar list. So this wetland conservation and management rules 2017 is the rules which is formulated inside India. Under this rule, the ministry has notified the rules, okay, for under which one, which act? Under the Environment Protection Act, they have notified rules, okay. So this rules acting as a regulatory framework, mainly to conserve and manage the wetland. Managing means wise use of wetland. So this will take care of conserving, managing, maintaining the wetland character, okay. And these rules will apply to all the wetlands. Now, what are the kinds of wetlands these rules will apply? The wetlands which are categorized as wetlands of international importance. That means the wetlands which is added in the Ramsar list. Okay. Then wetlands which are notified by the central government. Central government again, the central government, the state government, the union territories, everyone will declare or notify an area as a wetland. But for that also those rules will apply. The wetland conservation management rules will apply for the Ramsar list wetlands, that is international wetlands, wetlands of international importance, and the wetlands which are notified by the central government, state government, or UTs you take like that. But it do not apply for the wetlands which is falling under the areas covered under the Indian Forest Act. Okay, under the Indian Forest Act also, under the Wildlife Protection Act also, the Forest Conservation Act also, okay, and the State Forest Acts and the Coastal Zone Regulation notification. Under this, if you are declaring that area as a wetland, then the rules will not be applicable for those areas. Okay, so activities which are prohibited as per these rules. What are the activities which are prohibited in the wetlands under these rules? So like this you can see the conversion of wetland for non-wetland uses, and simply completely encroaching the wetland. You are encroaching the area of a wetland, completely removing that ecosystem, developing some you're doing some site development, constructing work is going on. For that you cannot use the wetland. Setting up any industry, or you're trying to expand, occupy the area nearby a wetland. First industry is located near a wetland, now you're occupying the entire wetland, so that expansion of industries is not allowed. Or you're trying to manufacture or handle or storage or dispose any construction or demolition. You're demolishing a building, putting the waste inside the wetland, it is not allowed. Even solid waste dumping is not allowed. Even any kind of waste you take, solid waste, untreated sewage waste, then effluents discharged from the industries, okay, are not allowed inside the wetland. Okay, and any permanent structure you cannot construct inside the wetland except the boat jetties, because they are not permanent, they are temporary only. You can remove it simply because they are made of wooden planks, so you can remove it. So those are not allowed inside. Any permanent construction is not allowed inside a wetland. And especially poaching, because a lot of water birds will visit a wetland. If there is a wetland, there will be a lot of it will be rich with avifauna fauna. We call this as avifauna fauna. So wintering birds which migrate from various places will come to the wetland, visit the wetland and all. So in this way you have to not poach them. Okay, so these are some of the activities which are like how we saw under the reserve forest. What are the activities which are prohibited in the reserve forest? Same way there are certain activities which are prohibited under the wetland conservation and management rules. Okay, so this, see, the under 2017 rules, there is one important point, that the rules also provide the rules provide for an advisory role, okay, for the National Wetland Committee. The Wetland Committee will act as an advisory body to guide the state bodies on the management of wetland. Okay, how well you are going to wisely use the wetland, and even you are trying to protect the wetland, and now you are going to review the progress of the management of the wetlands based on any convention. All this will be done by this wetland committee, so they act as an advisory body. Okay, and see this is the last program which I like to discuss, that is National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem. National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem, in the year wise it is expected. So this program, that is NPCA, was brought very recently only, after merging two important centrally sponsored schemes. After merging two centrally sponsored scheme, this NPCA was formed. What are those two centrally sponsored schemes? One is National Wetland Conservation Program, which was started around 1986. As you can see here, the National Wetland Conservation Program was started around 1986, that one. a National Lake Conservation Program, which was started around later, 2001 we have started it. So these two programs now merged together because both the program was there. Even a lake can also be a wetland. We cannot separate a lake and we cannot separate a wetland. Some lakes which are not very depth can be a part of wetland. So now there is a confusion which one to follow, whether a lake conservation program you have to follow or a wetland conservation program you have to follow. Then they thought it is better that we merge them together. So around 2013, the two schemes was merged. The centrally sponsored scheme was merged, okay, into one scheme that is called as National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem. And this program, this scheme is now looking into, which is under the MOEF. MOE is the one who is implementing this scheme, okay, which is taking care of conservation of both the wetlands and the lakes. Okay, so holistic conservation of lakes and wetlands is taken care by this program only. And this scheme, see, would contribute. What are the what the scheme is discussing about? The scheme will contribute to the reduction of pollution load. So main thing that we are blocking the wetland by dumping the waste, because the wetland, no one thinks that it's a land. If it is someone's house, definitely there will be a fight which will happen. But here, no one is going to ask you. So what they would do, without other one's notice, they are dumping the waste inside. So pollution load is keep on increasing and it is completely spoiling the wetland habitat. I already told the carrying capacity of the nature is far exceeding. And the way it can purify the water is completely getting reduced because there is a lot of pollution load. We are keep on adding the pollution load. So for that purpose only they brought this scheme, and also to improve the biodiversity, and the development of national inventory. Not only that, also to develop a national inventory and setting up an information, that is, in the inventory a storing of information for how well you can manage the wetlands, how well you can manage the lakes. That way you are trying to bring a data bank. You're storing some information in that, and for that, and with that also you're trying to do capacity building at every level, state level, state government level, local body levels. In this way we are trying to do that. And these and all is normal points only, strengthening and implementation of international commitments of wetlands like Ramsar Convention, all these things. And the scheme also covers various activities, see this, such as interception, diversion, treatment of wastewater, shoreline protection of wetland, lakefront development, in situ cleaning also. Desilting, no, mainly the sediments are completely trapped inside the wetland, so you have to desilt it, desilting, de-weeding, like this. All these activities will be carried under this program, which is a holistic program for conserving both wetland and lakes. Okay, so under this NPCA there are 4-pronged approach which you can have to concentrate. One, I already told that they are bringing a data bank, that is knowledge source. They will be collecting, so information storing, and for that they will be preparing a document, and then they will give a health card, ecosystem health card. You are filling the ecosystem health card is a second approach which is under the NPCA. So wetland health card, through that you will understand, you will identify immediately whether the wetland is in a good health or it is completely suffering because of the anthropogenic causes. That way you will be able to analyze. Based on 4 categories they will analyze it. The area, if there is a huge area, now the area has got shrinked, then there is an encroachment which is taking place. Or hydrology, the water health, by the presence of certain microbiotas, microorganisms, they will measure that whether the water is in a good health or not. Same way biodiversity and same way governance. Then even wetland mitras, instituting wetland mitras means the government cannot come, or this body cannot come every time to check whether the wetland is in the right way, in the right health or not. So for that they will institute wetland mitras. So these wetland mitras means they are called as friends of wetland. Okay, friends of wetland. So they will come on the behalf of the government also. They will take care of the protection and conservation of wetlands, and then preparing management plans, integrated management plans, in order to protect the health and the threat faced by the wetlands. So this way there is a 4-pronged approach under the NPCA. So far we have discussed various types of ecosystem, starting from forest. Some places I would have gone very fastly because that much information is required for you. since I have done separate videos related to wetlands, coral reefs, I have not given much importance. Coral reefs and all I have just flied away. But forest I have not done. So I have forest done. I have done very gradually in this rapid revision. You can take the benefit of wetlands and take the benefit of coral reefs from the separate videos which we are already posted for you. And for much elaborate discussion related to each and every topic, you can join with us. Not only the environment, on any subject, we are there to guide you. So you can join, and then you can watch us on Unacademy platform, right? So how we have so far seen that types of ecosystem, starting from the forest, what type of questions. Now I am going to say what are the questions which are focused so far from these areas, and how you have to study. That is important. Don't study everything. If you take a ecosystem, I have seen a lot of students what they are doing. They're simply studying, reading everything which is given under the forest, everything under the grassland. Even there is a ecosystem called sea grasses. Sea grasses is like a grassland which is there in the outside. Sea grasses are the in the water. Under the water, you will find a grass. Okay. So very important points related to the ecosystem is sufficient. For forest, if the questions are to appear, what they will be asking? They will be asking about the character. They will describe about a forest. Then they will give choice for you. What kind of forest it is? Or they will say that a particular place is having a mixture of these forests. What place it is? Okay. Or they may give, see what are the conditions prevailing under the tropical evergreen forest. Point number one, point number two, point number three. So this way you have to be very careful. The character of the forest is very important. What kind of soil will be present there, whether nutrients is present there or not, whether the temperature, how the temperature will be, whether it is hot and humid, whether there is an undergrowth, whether there is a decomposer which is present, how the about the nutrients of the soil. This way you have to prepare notes related to forest. That's why 4 forest is much sufficient, including the taiga. Then we came to the conservation. Then any ecosystem you take, benefits also you should know, and what are the threats faced by the ecosystem, you should be very careful. Okay, so based on that they will be asking questions. And then when you're preparing about conservation strategies, you should focus on the act, any act which was recently amended, or any act where they are celebrating 50th year, 25th year. And then ministry, in the ministry there will be a press release where prime minister he himself would have spoken something related to that act. Follow him, study that act, go in depth, see some provision which are inside that act, and then prepare your notes related to that. Okay, so this way. Then schemes, programs, policies, that against section. What are the schemes? Any new schemes which has been introduced in the world body, international level or at the national level? Okay, for mangrove visa at the national level we have introduced. Same way international level also some scheme would have been introduced, that you have to keep in track. Very important thing only you have to read. And even if they're same in schemes, policies or programs, 50th year has completed, scheme which was introduced, even read you take. Anna. So around 2008 they introduced, and now it is 15th year. So you have to be keeping track with that. So any new initiative which was introduced under that scheme, this way you have to be very careful when you're studying schemes, programs or policies. Okay. Then when you're going to the aquatic ecosystem, so these are forest. Then come to the next ecosystem. In the terrestrial, grassland, very much important. Not sufficient to read everything. Don't read the types, everything and all. You just see what are the benefits or the threats. That's it. Then come to desert. You should know what are the character of a desert. Like how you know about the character of a grassland, you should know a character of a desert. And don't study the types and all. There are only 4 kinds of desert present in India. So instead of that, you can go for desertification as a concept. It's a threat where the desert is also facing, nearby areas are facing desertification, losing the mineral content of the soil, fertility of the soil. So what is desertification, you have to know. And what is a convention which is mainly made to combat the desertification and to reduce drought? That is UNCCD. So you have to know about that convention. And very recently IDRA, that is International Drought Resilience Alliance was introduced. So what is that? Whether India is a member or not? Whenever you're taking a body, whenever you're taking learning about some bodies, you should know conventions. You should know whether India is member or not. Questions will be focused in that manner only. So again, what type of convention is, whether it is voluntary or whether it is compulsory, that is mandatory, that way, and what approach they are following. What are the approach they are following? That from that also questions will be focused. Then you come to the aquatic. In the aquatic, only four are important. Rivers are there, lakes are there, pond are there. But don't study all those things. You study corals, mangroves. Okay, corals. Now and then questions will come. Mangroves. Alternatively, they will be asking a question. Then comes wetland. Okay, wetland is very important ecosystem. And seagrass, I have not added here, but seagrass, it's also an important ecosystem only. Like the benefit of seagrasses, location of seagrasses, you have to see. Other ecosystems, the same. Factual data is very important. Already I have given for you. Like wetland, mangroves, factual data is important. Then threats faced by them. Then benefits of them, advantages of those ecosystems, you should be remembering. And apart from that, you have to know what are the conservation. Not much conservation measures will be there for them. Like forest, no, enormous acts are there. Not like that, but very few. Any initiative which was recently started, that also you should be keeping in track. Okay, this way only you obey. That's how UPSC is focusing the questions, and not randomly they're asking question. There is always a pattern which you have to follow. Yes. So we'll meet again in the other session. Thank you all.